Hi there, welcome to my channel. I'm Holly, and this channel is all about my exploration of the world of graphic novels, sci-fi, and fantasy. Now, if you've seen any of my videos, you know that I am diving into this world because my family is so into it, and I'd like to be a part of that with them. Now, so far, I have read a grand total of 4 graphic novels. And I'm beginning to think that graphic novels might be for me what college football became for me many years ago. Now, I know that sounds very weird, but just hear me out. I grew up in and I live in a college town, a big football college town. And I grew up in a family of complete and total football fanatics. I was dragged to so many games. And if we didn't attend a game, football was on television morning, noon, and night every Saturday during the season. Now, I was ambivalent about football. I didn't hate it, it's just I couldn't get into it. And funnily enough, I was a cheerleader. And one of my relatives asked me, "Why do you want to be a cheerleader? You don't even like football." And I thought, that is not why I became a cheerleader. So in my mid-20s, the football bug finally bit, and hard. I'm now about as rabid as the rest of my family, and don't even get my brother and me in the same room together to watch a game, because together we're intolerable. I mean, it can get rather loud and boisterous around here. But the reason I am using this as an example is because I feel that the same sort of thing is beginning to happen with the graphic novels. I don't think excitement is the exact right word, but I am getting so much enjoyment out of reading all of these, or some of them, and I feel that there is definitely a place in my life for all of this. And speaking of finding a place in your life for this, if you enjoy this content, I ask that you take a moment to subscribe, hit the like button, and come back for more. Okay, having said all of that, the other reason that I'm using this football analogy is because this week I fumbled the ball big time. Now, I have read The Killing Joke, The Man of Steel, and Speeding Bullets, and I have loved them all. And so I really wanted to do Wonder Woman next. And with the first 3 things that I read, those were recommended to me by my husband and son. But for this graphic novel, I went out on my own and I picked the thing that I was going to read. And I don't think I'm quite ready to do that yet. So what I selected is DC Universe Rebirth, Wonder Woman Volume 1, The Lies. The Lies. That sounds awesome, but for me, it was not awesome. Full disclosure here, I mentally checked out with about 40 pages left to read, and I almost decided not to even finish it. However, I do like to finish what I start, so I plowed through the rest of it. And by that, I mean I read each word. Technically, I read the whole thing, and we're just going to leave it at that. For whatever reason, I just was not able to get engaged with the story. I wasn't able to suspend disbelief. And I don't know if it was a writer problem, a story content problem, or a me problem. It's probably a combination, but I just couldn't get into it. But we're about to get into it. All right, let's do this. So when I was opening up to read the first page, the song Brick House immediately and constantly was running through my head the entire time I was reading this. And if you don't know the song, just look up the lyrics. It's by the Commodores. I couldn't help myself. I just could not get that song out of my head. Anyway, I thought the beginning of the story really started out fairly strongly. I learned that Wonder Woman's name is Diana and that she's the daughter of Hippolyta and Zeus, which I thought was really, really cool. And I was also thinking, do I need to brush up on my Greek mythology? And if memory serves, which it may not, isn't Hippolyta a daughter of Ares? And if so, in the DC universe or the world of Wonder Woman, wouldn't that make Diana a granddaughter of Ares? Sorta, kinda? Anyway, that's what I was going with as I was reading. All right, so at the beginning, Diana is very confused as to who she is. Is she beloved by all and celebrated for being different? Or is she ridiculed and made fun of and made to feel ashamed of who she is? And furthermore, Diana was very confused because she wasn't sure if her memories were accurate. Was it a sailor who breached paradise for the first time in 1,000 years? Or was it a messenger with an ominous warning that Ares would break free from his chains to unleash utter hell on earth to satisfy his bloodlust? Okay, that is exciting. I was getting, woo, I can't wait to read this. This is the story I wanted to read. Ultimately, Diana was selected to live among the people of Earth and to fight alongside them to put a stop to Ares. Does this mean that Diana is about to make war against her grandfather? And I was thinking, oh yeah, here we go. It's grandfather versus granddaughter in an epic dysfunctional family story. Buckle up because it's about to get crazy. And this is what I was envisioning. I thought I was going to see scenes of people running down the street screaming in terror, flipped over cars, fires, floods, earthquakes, Godzilla. Okay, maybe not Godzilla, but you can see kind of where my mind was going, where I thought the story was leading. And this is where I think this might be partially a me problem, because I went into this with a certain expectation of what would happen, and it's not at all what happened. To say that I was slightly disappointed is a major understatement. All right. In a nutshell, and I mean a small nutshell, this will probably be the quickest synopsis I have ever given. All right, Diana is being deceived, but she doesn't know where the deception is coming from. And not only that, she is being blocked from getting back home to Themyscira. Now, I am sorry if I am butchering that name. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but don't worry, there's more butchery coming. Anyway, there are two main stories occurring simultaneously in a country called Wanda. The first one is a CIA operation headed up by Steve Trevor, in which they're trying to stop an evil man named Cadulo, who is slaughtering men in the streets and kidnapping the daughters. And later you discover that he is essentially serving up these daughters to a god named Urs Kartaga. There we go with the butchery. Urs Kartaga, I believe. I was thinking, oh, okay, they're going to be his wives or part of a harem or something like that. And then secondly, you've got Wonder Woman, who is heading to Wanda because she needs to find Cheetah. Apparently, Cheetah is the only person who is going to be able to help her find Themyscira. And so, also, the reason Cheetah is there is because she is married, very unhappily so, to the god Urs Kartaga. And he's the one who put a curse on her and made her change from being Dr. Barbara Ann Minerva to what she is now, Cheetah. And Cheetah blames Wonder Woman for her unfortunate situation. Now, I don't know why she blames her. I don't know those circumstances because we're not really told. That might get fleshed out in volume 2 or 3 perhaps. But anyway, Wonder Woman is able to find her, and they strike up a deal. If Diana will help Cheetah get rid of Urs Kartaga and she returns back to her original human form, she will then help Diana locate and get back to Themyscira. Okay, I'm going to cut to the chase. That's it. Pretty much everything works out okay, at least temporarily. Urs Kartaga is gotten rid of, and I will talk about that in just a minute. And Cheetah does return to her original human form, and she keeps up her end of the bargain and does try to help Wonder Woman return to or locate Themyscira. Now, I am not going to get into the finer details or minutia of this story. There is so much more. And if you've seen my videos, you know I love getting into the finer details. I love to retell the story and share my thoughts and opinions. But with this one, the only purpose that would serve would be to extend the length of this video. And eventually, you would think, just as I was thinking as I was reading this, will this never end? So I'm just going to talk about a couple of things. First of all, the demise of Urs Kartaga, somewhat. It turns out that the girls being kidnapped are not his wives or part of a harem. In fact, they are guarding him, essentially imprisoning him and keeping the rest of the world safe from him. He actually fears them. Okay. I'm sorry, I kind of thought this was a cop-out. This part of it felt almost juvenile to me, as if a 9th grader came up with this idea for a creative writing assignment. But just my opinion there. So the way they get rid of the god is all of the girls, along with Cheetah and Wonder Woman, encircle him, join hands, and when they do that, this energy is produced. And I thought, ooh, they are going to crush him to dust. But that's not exactly what happens. They pretty much trap his spirit in a flowering plant. So that's going to be his new home. And that plant is eventually given to the head of the CIA. And I just really thought that was kind of weak. And now I know that this is just the first volume, volume 1 of 3. And this just might be a very long, slow burn. However, with slow burns, particularly the really good ones, you know, you always have this sense or this feeling of tension or dread or excitement in anticipation of what's coming. And generally, you have this increasing buildup to something spectacular or horrifying or at least completely unexpected. And I wasn't really feeling any of that while I was reading this. No kind of tension or anything. And certainly nothing that was spurring me on, making me want to read more, and definitely not to head on into volume 2. All right, now let's talk very briefly about Wonder Woman and Themyscira. So during the whole story, you're given to think that Themyscira is a place, an actual physical location. But when you get to the end, it's posited that it may not really be an actual location, but an idea. And I was thinking, oh, I don't know about this, because why the heck would Dr. Barbara Ann Minerva, who's helping her, say, I need to have some very good maps and a GPS? Why would you need that if Themyscira is merely an idea? And this next thing, I know I am being incredibly nitpicky right now, but you know, if this story had been a more solid story for me, if I had been enjoying this, this wouldn't have bothered me. I wouldn't have given a second thought. However, you know, I wasn't really feeling it. So when we get to this, I'm just rolling my eyes. So we also have a bit of a soap opera-esque scene in which Steve and Diana are on a windswept beach discussing why they are no longer together. And yeah, you know, it made me think maybe DC Universe Rebirth, maybe they're trying to widen their audience and felt like they needed to put this kind of a scene in there. Like I said, it normally wouldn't have bothered me, but at the point where I was, I just thought it was superfluous. So, you know, I don't really want to end on a down note. So one positive thing, I thought the artwork, particularly the color work, was absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it was wonderful to look at, and there is no question that the lies, the artwork in it completely beats out the first three things that I've read. No question. And also, after I trashed the story in my head, I went to Amazon and I looked up its ratings, and it seems that I am in a very small minority of how I feel. I guess I'm just alone in the wilderness, but you know what? This should tell you that I am not yanking your chain. If I don't like something, I'm going to let you know. It's not going to be every video, oh, I loved it, I can't wait to read more. That just happened to be the case for the first three things that I read. All right, and I do have one more very major complaint. I want to know why there was no scene depicting scrapbooking in this. That was the biggest disappointment for me. All right, wrapping up. No, no, and no. I will not reread this. I will not be going to volume 2. And I would not recommend this to anyone who is just beginning their journey into graphic novels. I am so glad that this was not the first one that I read, because I promise it would have turned me off to reading anything else. Now, I would have done it. I would have given one or two, a chance at least, but I would have been a little bit hesitant. So, you know that I rank everything that I've read so far, and unfortunately, I will not be doing a ranking this week because there is no world in which The Lies would make my top 4 or my top 5 or my top 10. I can't imagine that there's going to be anything else that I like less. So my rankings stand. They are the same as last week. In third place is Superman Speeding Bullets. Second place, Superman, the Man of Steel. And first place, Batman, the Killing Joke. All right, I am out of here, but please stay tuned. I'll be right back.